So football now, the England squad. Obviously this week we're missing the international. Well, I say we're missing the Premier League. It's the international break, which obviously is a chance for England to get together and Gareth Southgate to work on his squad. Just looking at the squad, obviously it's a 29-man squad because there's 3 games in this period. England go away. They've got Republic of Ireland on Thursday, I believe it is, and then 2 Nations League games, critical Nations League games against Belgium and Iceland. It's a final chance, not a final chance, but it's the last competitive games before the Euros, which does mean something, I think. It's the Nations League. I think there will be a Euro qualifier, but it'd be interesting to see how it goes. Obviously, you look at the 29-man squad. There's only 23 that will go to the Euros. So obviously, a lot of these players are playing for places. I think everyone will get a game at least. And obviously, with 3 keepers, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, just some talking points to start. The interesting place, I think, has to be obviously the Phil Foden, Greenwood, who were dropped from the last international break due to what happened in Iceland. For me, I think there's a lot of talk that Greenwood's been unlucky to miss out. I mean, Gareth Southgate's carrying over his vendetta or whatever it is, taking it too far. But for me, I look at it, I just think it's purely footballing reasons. I mean, Mason Greenwood's not getting a go at Manchester United. He scored a goal in the Champions League, I think, but he's not really had a game, has he? And I just don't think he deserves his place. I mean, you look at it, there seems to be rumours that he's fallen out with the changing room or dressing room. It's sort of Ollie's had a real word with him apparently at Man United. And I think Phil Foden's coming off the bench. He's doing all right for Man City, but I think there's no reason that Mason Greenwood deserves to be in this team. And Mason Greenwood's a player I think will go on to be world class and genuinely a superstar for England. But for me, he doesn't deserve to be in this squad.
Yeah, I mean, we can only go off hearsay on what we've read about Greenwood's attitude off the pitch. But I think actually, till there's an actual firm report, I think that's unfair. But I think most young players go through a phase of having a bit of trouble off the pitch. You look at Raheem Sterling, you look at Sancho at the minute in Germany, he's getting absolute pelters, saying it's a crisis at Dortmund because of his form. You know, you've got to remember these are teenagers, these are young lads. I mean, we're not too far away from being at that age, and you imagine earning 120 grand a week. You're going to make stupid decisions sometimes. And also thrown in the Iceland factor. That's clearly not an issue to Southgate because he's picked Foden. So you can't tar them with the same brush. No. Foden's got in the team on merit.
Absolutely. I mean, I just thought going back to it, but I thought the way that Southgate handled the Foden and Greenwood issue was ridiculous. I thought, as you just said, for me, they are young lads. They made a mistake, and I thought that the FA sort of left them out, hang them out to dry. 2 young lads who are going away. I mean, they made mistakes, they do stupid things, but they didn't deserve the stick that they got. And obviously, you look at the way that social media reacts nowadays. Everyone thinks that footballers should be saints. I mean, they forget that Phil Foden's 20 years old, Mason Greenwood's 18. I mean, these are lads who haven't developed their understanding of life. They don't really understand the way that everything works. And at the end of the day, they're sat there. They didn't get asked to be this good at football. They've earned the right, obviously, but they paid a lot of money, and the attention that comes on it is unfair for me. And I just thought it got hung out to dry. But no, it's good to see, obviously, Phil Foden in the squad. I mean, Mason Greenwood doesn't deserve his position. But for me, Pickford, Pope and Henderson, I mean, they're the 3 goalkeepers that are going to go to the Euros. I think there's nothing to clear. What do you think on Jordan Pickford and Nick Pope and Dean Henderson in terms of where they lie? I mean, Jordan Pickford got dropped from Everton the other week. Obviously, he's made a few rash challenges and mistakes. But he is the man in the jersey. And who do you think should be in that position?
I mean, I don't like it when managers pick on sentiment just because they've done a good job from before. But I think you can be excused for international football, given the rigours of a tournament. You know, Gareth Southgate needs to know that he's got his 11 best men out there that can win England a trophy. And Pickford's never really let England down. I think we've got short memories of the Euros. You know, he was part of that team that got us to a quarter final. And you know, players play different for England. There's some players that don't do it as well as others, but I think Pickford, he's made a mistake, but Nick Pope, he's conceding quite a lot playing for Burnley. But I think it's too early to judge on the end of the season. If you come to me at the end of the season, I might have a completely different opinion because Nick Pope might just completely take it. But they're both equally good goalkeepers, but I think Pickford's faults are more high profile, given he is the current number one and plays for Everton, and just so happened to take out Liverpool's love child of Van Dijk. So obviously he's in the microscope more than the other two keepers.
It's not often that I think you're right, to be
sure
fair.
you have a different opinion.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you. That's the worrying thing. I mean, I must be wrong if I'm agreeing with you, Harv. No, I think Jordan Pickford deserves England's spot. I mean, he gets a lot of flack, and I think he's. I know this sounds hypocritical. I think he's a very good goalkeeper who makes a lot of. Well, he makes not a lot, but he makes consistent mistakes. I think he is England's best goalkeeper without those mistakes, which obviously that's a stupid thing to say, and I do understand that. But Nick Pope's distribution is terrible.
Jeff.
But Nick Pope's distribution is terrible. I mean, he's a good shot stopper, but he's not good with his feet. You look at the way England want to play, and that the importance of a balling foot goalkeeper is sort of clearly important in the modern game. You look at Pep Guardiola's sort of the football he wanted to play, bringing in the lad from Barcelona that first year. Name escapes me whilst I'm under the pressure. But for me, Dean Henderson probably is England's best goalkeeper. But he's not playing at Manchester United. Claudio Bravo, that's the one. For me, Dean Henderson is England's best goalkeeper, but he's not playing for Manchester United. And if he's not playing for Manchester United, he shouldn't be playing for England. I mean, I don't agree with people playing who don't play for their club side. I just have this thing where you have to get in your club team to warrant playing for England. It's just consistency of performance. And Dean Henderson, he's unlucky because he would definitely start. I mean, in the day, he probably would start for Everton if he was there. But he's behind David De Gea, and he needs a good run in aside to get in that England jersey. So I think Jordan Pickford will retain it, and he'll probably be the man that'll probably keep against Belgium. I think they'll rotate in the other two games depending on how that Belgium game goes. I mean, we'll just go on to sort of those two games just to sort of signify it. So we play Ireland in a friendly this Thursday, and then we go ahead. We've got Belgium, and then we've got Iceland. So the Belgium away game, if we can win that away, the Iceland game becomes a must-win. If we win that game, I think we win the group. So if we lose the Belgian game or draw, I think the final game against Iceland becomes, in essence, is a friendly. So it's a semi-final is Belgium, really. And that's the way that England have got to look at it. You've seen us drop off in performances where we need to win. We've sort of, against Croatia, against Holland, notably, we've let go in big games. So it'd be interesting to see. But what about the defence, Harv? Who have you seen much in that you think are going to make England solid?
Yeah,
something we need.
I mean, Southgate's good, but he's not a miracle worker. I mean, he's been dealt a poor hand to some extent with the centre backs. But for me, Conor Cody is a must. He really impressed me against Leeds. This first time I've watched him properly this year, and you know, I watched the Sky Premier League without the fans, and he's just barking. I mean, he is a loud boy at the back, and I think he's definitely one. You know, first name on the team sheet at the back. And then if you look at what Southgate played against Denmark, he played a 3-4-2-1. So, and he had Walker and Maguire as his back three with Cody. But Walker, I mean, is he trusted enough to play there for me? No, I think Joe Gomez is the better player. But Joe Gomez, his form's dropped a bit. I mean, you'll have watched him more than me, but you know, Cody, Gomez, and Maguire it is the back three that I would go with.
Yeah, well, you see, just picking up a couple of things. I totally agree with you on Conor Cody. I don't know if you saw that video of Jordan Henderson that was circulating the other day where he was barking orders and sort of leading vocally on the pitch. And I think that you can never have too few of those players. Never have too many of those players. And I think Conor Cody is exactly one of those. I think he's an absolute leader. He's from that Liverpool academy. I mean, it just obviously works wonders. It's full of quality players. And Conor Cody's one of them. I think he's really developed himself at Wolves. He's gone away and he's become a club captain, and he's seriously impressive. And for me, I totally agree with you. I think he should be the number one centre-back. I think for England, not just the way that he's performed on the pitch, but it's the way he's performed off it. You've seen him in discussions with Sky, and he's sort of done press conferences, and he's just come across as a genuine leader and a great character in the squad, and a great player. So, but Harry Maguire, not for me. I mean, I personally think John Stones, if you're going to play a player like that, I'd rather have John Stones. Just going back to Joe Gomez point, Joe Gomez has been brilliant since Virgil van Dijk got injured, to be honest with you. I mean, he lost a couple of headers in one game, but he's been really solid and he stepped up to the plate. Really impressive. I've been really impressed by Joe Gomez. I think taking that leader role in the defence, he's bringing on a couple of young lads, and it's impressive to see. Not so young himself now, 23 years old. It's not young anymore. It's sort of entering the prime of a player's career, isn't it? I mean, for me, obviously, you've got your left back and your right back. I think they're nailed on. I think you look at just for the Euros, just sort of on those points. I think Ben Chilwell's a guaranteed starter. He's been brilliant for Chelsea since he's gone there. And obviously, Trent's injured, which is unfortunate from the weekend, but it gets him a break, which is much needed. And he loves a right back. Whether Kyle Walker will play there or not, who knows? But yeah, I think 3 at the back, and I do think Harry Guy will start, but I don't think he should. But obviously, there's not just the defence. We move on to the midfield, and obviously we're missing your best friend, your wannabe Calvin, Big Calv. I mean, that is a loss for England, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, all joking aside, Phillips plays CDM. He plays the game exactly like Henderson, and it's only going to benefit England having him in the squad, learning from players like your Hendersons, like your Declan Rice, playing against the best in that position. It's only going to be a benefit to have your best talent learning from the best. But you can see in Leeds' form, we're shipping goals again, and there's no secret to that. It's because we don't have our anchor playing there. We're moving players out of position. But no, I mean, just to your point, I think right back, I think for the wing backs, I go with an old Chelsea wing back with Chilwell and the ever more impressive Reece James. I remember watching him a couple of years ago for Wigan against Leeds, and he played in the midfield for Wigan. And he was, when you watch Championship football, there's a few players that play, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, how's he playing it? And he was one of them. He was an absolute beast, and he's just got better. So I think actually he really complements that play style we play with the wing backs.
No, I agree. And I mean, you look at the right back position. I think it's something that England really are really strong on, aren't they? I mean, there's some really good footballers that are coming through playing that position. And it's something that if only we could have a few more left backs. I mean, obviously, I think Ben Chilwell, but other than that, there's no one really there. And obviously, you've got the likes of Reece James and Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Saka in the team. Interesting to see. But yeah, as you say, I mean, Jude Bellingham's got to call up. Obviously, he's done a decent enough job. Don't know if he caught the Bayern Munich Dortmund game, but he came on. For me, I didn't think he was as involved in what I would like to have seen from him. Sort of, he's only 17 though. I mean, it's be playing in a game like that at Dortmund versus Bayern Munich at 17 years old is it stands someone in good stead, and it's sort of big game experience that you can rely upon.
Yeah, I watched him in the Championship, obviously against Leeds with Birmingham, and he actually scored against us. But he was a swindle. I mean, he's an absolute swindle of a player in the Championship. He's going. There's no sock. He didn't stay in there much longer if he's doing what he did at 16 in the Championship.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but you wouldn't be retiring his shirt, would you?
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of plastic clubs around, as you'll know one. So yeah.
But yeah, no, absolutely not. And then you look up front. I mean, for me, just want to raise this point that I think if England are going to win anything, I think we've got to start realising that we need to play a system that fits our best players, not fits our best player, but fits around our best player. And I think you look at it, I think we've got really strong fullbacks. I mean, especially Chilwell and Trent. I think you need to look at them the way that they play, sort of attacking fullbacks in that mode. I think those are two genuinely quality players. And I think England's best player, without doubt, I think you look at, so you've got those two. Jordan Henderson is an absolute guarantee. The way he's controlling midfield now for Liverpool is just super impressive. So, and then the most important player for England is without doubt is the captain, is the leader. It's Harry Kane. I mean, what he's doing in the Premier League this season is phenomenal. He's second behind Lewandowski. And I think England need to just realise, right, we've got one of the best strikers in the world, probably England's best striker since, he's better than Wayne Rooney for me, I think, as a goal scorer. Shearer. And England need to go, right, we've got this side, we need to build it around Harry Kane. I don't care whether that means playing, however you think it's best, playing one off him, maybe somewhat two players in behind him, be it that be Sterling. But we don't need to get Sterling, Sancho, Rashford and Kane all in this squad just because that works. What we need to do is make a system work for Harry Kane so that he can flourish, because he's England's best player. And if we're going to win anything, it's going to be Harry Kane. It's not going to be Marcus Rashford. It's not going to be Jadon Sancho. It's going to be Harry Kane leading the line and taking us to glory. And I think it's definitely possible. And I'm looking forward to seeing, I'd love to see sort of Harry Kane just become the only man that matters, and we sort of build a side around him.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. I don't understand for the life of me know why we try and just put all these names on. We've been burnt by that before when we try to put Lampard and Gerrard, and it just never worked.
Scholes, Beckham, yeah,
and Southgate, yeah, it just doesn't. International football doesn't work like that. You can't accommodate every player. So for me, I mean, I'd go as a front. So my England team, I'd play sort of 5-2-3. So I'd have we'll just obviously wrap up the attacking, but I'll just start from the back and it makes more sense. So I'd have Pickford, Chilwell, Gomez, Cody, Maguire, Reece James. Then I'd have Rice and Henderson as your two holding players. And then I'd have Sterling, Kane, Sancho. And I know Sancho's form's a bit out of whack at the minute, but
who did you say in the midfield? Sorry,
Mr. Cam.
Who did you have in midfield?
So Rice and Henderson.
Yeah.
And then Sterling, Kane, Sancho up front.
Oh, I mean, it'd be interesting to see. For me, I don't. I mean, the thing is, Jordan Henderson could play in many which ways. So, I mean, if we're going to play three at the back, what I don't want to see is I don't want to see two holding central midfielders. I think if we're playing three at the back, we need to play one centre defensive mid. If we're playing three up front, I mean, it's a difficult one. It is a difficult one, but I don't want to see. I mean, Henderson isn't a centre defensive midfielder. He can play more attacking. He can be a box to box. He's got it all in his locker. But what I don't want to see is Phillips and Rice. I know Phillips is injured, but I never want to see Phillips, Rice, and three centre backs for me. I think it's just backwards. And obviously, I think
it's negative. It's negative football.
Negative football. And I think Southgate has got. It's weird because he's got a semi-final and he came third in the Nations League, but I think he's got a lot to prove. And we've got a really young, talented. You look at the likes. You've got a squad. I mean, that's just throwing names out there. We've not even mentioned Jack Grealish, Calvert-Lewin, Tammy Abrahams, Greenwood.
I was about to come on to him there.
Foden, Sterling's 25 now, but there's not many players. I mean, I'm looking at it. Jordan Henderson and Kieran Trippier, Jordan Henderson, and Kyle Walker, the only players with 30 to their name. So you think in 4 years' time, this is going to be a side that's in its prime. So for the World Cup in 2022 and then 2026, the Euros, I think this next 6 years of England, this English side can develop together and get quality. And I hope Southgate's the right man. For me, I don't think he is, but we have to give him the chance to prove it. But I would love to see Jose Mourinho take on that England side. I think he could work wonders with some of the young lads. I think you look at the intensity that he brings to his coaching, and Mourinho would be great to see. But obviously, I think you were going to touch upon Grealish to round us off.
Yeah, I mean, I just off the top of my head, just wrote in the forward positions our squad depth, and on the left you've got Sterling, Grealish, Foden that can come on in any three, and then up front you've got Kane, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Danny Ings. That's just three. I'm just listing three names, and then on the right you can have Sancho, Greenwood, and Saka. You're telling me we can't get a ball to Harry Kane or Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
I can throw more out there. I mean, I think there's obviously Callum Wilson who isn't near enough to side. Hudson-Odoi isn't. I'm not that these players should be near the England squad. They're just players with depth. I mean, Harvey Barnes is a really good player at Leicester.
No.
I mean, he's coming through well. These are just players that sort of. None of them are in our 23, but you look at the depth. I'm not saying it's hard to say it's a golden generation because they've got a lot to prove. But all these lads are under the age of 25, most of them, and it's really exciting to see. You think of James Maddison and the like. There's a lot of promise for England, and hopefully hopefully Southgate is the man to lead us there. I'm not totally confident, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching the Belgium game. I think that'll tell us a lot.
Yeah,
huge game. Obviously, that we beat them at home. We were poor first half. And I just want to see us go out there, to be honest, Harv. I think we've got a lot of attacking players. We mentioned a lot of names, and I think build that side around Harry Kane, but do it in a positive manner. I mean, do it trying to win, do it trying to score, because I don't think England fans will care if you get beat in a semi-final trying to play positive football. If we're trying to go away and draw against Iceland like we did, 0-0, scored 1-0, I mean, it's not something we don't want to watch that. We don't exactly, and people want to just sat there waiting for the Premier League and rubbing their hands that the Masters are on.
And to your point, the overarching weakness in our team is the middle. So when we got beat by Croatia, we just got absolutely outclassed by Modric. Yeah, in the game, it wasn't the other way around. And, that's one world-class player beating 11 England players. We've got Harry Kane. We need to be the team that says, oh, we didn't get beat by the better midfield or the better bloody centre backs. We got beat by Harry Kane. And to your point, I just find it hard to understand why we'd be so negative when we've got such beautiful attacking options.
I agree. And you look at, I mean, there's a real worry for our centre backs, but I think in terms of Ben Chilwell's up there with some of the best left backs in it. It's just, he's below that top tier, but he's developing into that. Exactly. And you look at our right backs, we've got the best depth of the right back that any side in the world could have. I mean, you look at it, for me, Carl Walker's probably third or fourth down the ranks.
Trent.
I mean, exactly. Trent Alexander-Arnold is the best right back in the world. Jordan Henderson's the captain of one of the best sides in the world. Raheem Sterling is a brilliant player. Kane, Rashford, Sancho. I mean, there's talent galore. I mean, we've not even really touched on Jack Grealish, who I hope gets a go in one of the big games, not against Ireland, because obviously that'll be feisty for him. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how he goes against his fake home nation. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it, and obviously we can have a chat about how it went next week. But it's been good. I've enjoyed it. I mean, as I say, David Brent lookalike has turned up with his Bielsa bucket hat on. And hopefully,
it's for charity, mate. It's for charity.
Absolutely, we've all got to do it. I mean, as I say, mine's on there. I mean, I've got this camera up here as well, but it's not great. If you've got, we can put the link in the bio actually on both the donation for Movember. I mean, I'm going to do a bit of a push next week. But as I say, if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe.